When the US dollar collapses, the world is going to go batshit crazy. Inflation destroys countries. Like, look at Venezuela right now. 95% of the country is very poor. And if we don't do something like this, and this country really does continue to grow, the lower class will be slaves. It's fucking hard. Like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. I don't even have a house for myself. I can't hold on anymore. I'm gonna let go. And I let go and my soul left my body. It's one thing owing money to a bank, but owing money to someone you're close to will truly destroy your self-esteem, your self-worth. God allowed my soul to come back into this body to do something cool with my life. What if we create a program for the locals and an economy for the locals that as they receive that Bitcoin, as prices continue to go up, now their children have money to buy their own land. Life is always hard, you know? Like, my life was very difficult when I was sleeping on my friend's couch who was shooting heroin up in the bathroom, and I was sleeping on a pile of his clothes that were stained with blood. You gotta pick your heart. But I trusted in God, and within 1 year, my debts were paid and there was $1 million of donations in my bank account.
Hello and welcome to another episode of You're the Voice from El Salvador National Palace. What do you know? I'm here with Murph. Hey, Murph.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks so much for agreeing to come on my show.
Thank you.
And thank you for being so generous and forgiving me for, here's my confession, for coming to your place about a year ago, doing a lot of shooting. I still have the materials and not publishing it yet, but the plan is to take this beautiful episode and weave the stuff that I've taken back then to this episode. So in the end, people are going to see...
It'll be extra rad.
Yes, that will be like the behind the scenes footage of the
You also missed my panel a half hour ago.
That's true, because I was here preparing for you.
Nice.
I have good excuses. But anyway, thank you for agreeing to come on. I love what you do, and that's why I invited you to come on the show. Because I want my audience, which is, on the most part, people who appreciate freedom and sovereignty, which is what you stand for, and people who appreciate free spirits, creation, entrepreneurship, and spirituality, which I heard like super interesting stories from you about that part of your life. So I would love to dig deeper on those topics with you.
Cool.
So yeah, we're as I said, National Palace, Bitcoin Historical. We're at the Congress Blue Room.
It's nice.
Right. I feel like we are violating the Matrix rules because here we are, two, I don't know if to call us anarchists or whatever.
Yeah.
Troublemakers.
In a government palace.
In a government palace, being endorsed, and like blue carpets are being put together for us.
It's fancy.
Isn't
There's sushi outside.
Sushi outside. We just had some nibbles in the speaker's room.
This is good sushi, but I already told you I have worms. I found a worm. I did. I found it 2 days ago, and so I literally took a dewormer 20 minutes before I got here, and then there's more salmon.
And salmon, according to you, could increase your worm situation?
Yeah. Well,
I didn't think so.
And now the new ones can start growing, but I'm afraid of like big worms. If they're like, you know.
All right. Thank you for sharing. So Murph, just for my audience that may not know you, I want to do a little intro, like to let them know who you are, and then we'll dive into the questions. We'll let you talk. Yep. So Aaron Murphy is a storyteller, builder, and founder of Murph'sLife Foundation, a nonprofit that uses social media to drive direct aid and long-term regenerative development across Latin America. What began with one viral act of kindness in Ecuador has grown into a movement that has supported over 75,000 people, built hundreds of homes and schools, launched family businesses, and raised more than $10 million from a community of over 11 million followers. Forgive me if I'm wrong on the numbers. Today, Murph focuses on dignity-first sustainable solutions, from regenerative farms and safe housing to skills training anchored by, I'm going to butcher that, Casa Conejo?
The rabbit house.
Casa Conejo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Casa Conejo.
Conejo. his eco resort. It's a beautiful place and farm in El Salvador that funds local jobs and programs. So you have a crazy story of how you got into this, how you even started doing what you're doing today.
Yeah.
And I think that story is also weaved in with you, like your spiritual awakening and that moment that I think you mentioned that you felt God speaking to you. Can you share that story with us?
Yeah. I mean, the more we age, you know, it's like we're constantly being awakened to we're becoming a little bit more conscious of like why we smoke cigarettes, why we overeat, why like a little tics that we all have, you know? So we're constantly like awakening. And I don't think, you know,
that it's one moment.
Yeah, like one moment, like
it's
even
a process. Yeah.
You know, when you're saying like, go back to that moment, like I had a pretty profound realization a couple weeks ago where I was like, why am I building this? Because it's fucking hard. Like I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I don't even have a house for myself. My marriage is on the brinks of, you know, a lot of people kind of hide from that. Like it's very difficult to build something and maintain a family. Like the traveling, not seeing your children grow up as much as you would like.
Yeah.
And I look at this as like we're building Casa Conejo, which is the rabbit house. And I've had a fascination with rabbits. Like it's like it represents Jesus Christ with Easter. It could be pornography with Playboy. You know, you got to go down the rabbit hole.
Right.
And you know, like everyone's like, oh, I went down another rabbit hole with a conspiracy, like trying to discover something to find truth.
Right.
Whether it's from government or if there's aliens or a cover up. So, but what happens when you catch the rabbit?
Yeah.
You know, and for me, it was like Casa Conejo is me building a village homes. You know, we've built hundreds of houses for families, and a lot of them have Airbnb rental units on top for financial security, for that sovereignty. And my realization that was pretty profound was I grew up in a trailer park. My dad was in and out of work. 6 siblings in a pretty shitty house, you know, like living in my grandma's basement for a bit. Then we went to a trailer park. Then we moved the trailer to like the outskirts of a native reservation where it's like I would go to school and me and my friends would like be huffing gas in like paper bags going to school. Very poor communities. And so now it's like I'm subconsciously giving that inner child. And I never like, every time people say inner child, I'm like, what the hell? But it's so real. Like,
yeah, it is really
I'm
real.
giving my child the security that I never had to so many people.
Wow.
And I look at my life now and it's like, am I repeating what my dad did with me? You know, and I love my dad. I wasn't sexually abused. Everyone has an upbringing that's not perfect, you know, but it's like, how much time am I not spending with my daughter?
Right.
Even being here right now, I could be in a park with her, you know, and, you know, as you have a kid, you can always say there should be a little bit more time to see them grow up before they leave the nest.
Yeah.
So everything is kind of like this external, here's a home, here's a business, here's security, here's protection. And coming from a Christian background, it's very like the second coming of Jesus Christ, you know, like in Christianity, there's a lot of like fear around that. Like the world is going to burn. There's going to be world wars. There's going to be famines. And I look at my farm and it's like, we have well water. And I always say that, like, if the world goes to shit, and it absolutely can, and I'm not letting go of that, because when the US dollar collapses, like it happened with Spain ruled the world, and, you know, they never created anything. They just spent all their money hundreds of years ago, and it's happened with multiple countries. And the same cycle is happening with the US dollar right now. When that collapses, the world is going to go batshit crazy. El Salvador uses the US dollar. I work in Ecuador, they use the US dollar. What's going to happen? We have no idea. If there's like an EMP, like these things can happen. World wars have always happened, you know, and this has nothing to do necessarily with religion. But coming from that Christian background is like, prepare yourself for the end of the world, you know? And our farm is also an external, like, if everything goes to shit, we have well water, thousands of fruit trees, pigs, rabbit meat. We're on top of a mountain, you know, like we're building a brick wall in front of the damn property. And eventually I would love to have it, all of it. It's like we're building this fortress. We're building this citadel that's like to sustain that wild shit, you know, that, and you know, and it's a beautiful thing. And now I'm working through it. Like, I need to give my family and myself a home. I need to give myself peace, and, you know, but kind of what you were saying, like going back to how this happened was, I grew up Mormon. I went on a Mormon mission to Brazil. That's what got me into Latin America. And, you know, the elders, they walk into, and I freaking loved it. Like, I absolutely loved being a missionary there. I was a teenager and just very wild, you know, like I wasn't like a good example, I guess, of what it should be for representing a church, as, you know, like preaching spirituality. But when I got back from that, it was just immediately like alcohol and drugs for me. It was like my way of feeling alive and feeling like I had a voice, was to take a bunch of ecstasy and mushrooms. And I would go to, like, I started working, doing events at Sundance Film Festival, and I worked for years, like helping out with movie productions and celebrities, and I've moved into that, where it's just like I'm throwing concerts and music festivals, but it got to a point where it's like everything that I was hiding turned into anxiety and panic attacks. I don't know if you've had a panic attack before.
I had an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
I had 3 of them.
Feels like you're dying.
It feels like you're becoming a stone, like so rigid and heavy, and everything feels it's super difficult.
Like a video game too. Like,
yeah.
What is real?
It felt horrible when I had them.
So I got to the point where I had a DUI. I lost my car. I had one of my best girlfriends that were promoter. There were some of my promoters that would hand out like flyers, and you know, she was murdered by her girlfriend, and like these traumas that were just kind of building up. Like, she got stabbed 47 times.
Oh my God.
And the killer FaceTimed me and was like, Aaron, what do I do with the body? You know what I mean? I thought it was like a Halloween joke. Like crazy shit. I couldn't leave the state. I had to go to court because I called the police. Maybe she's still breathing, you know? So imagine like this kind of stuff just building up. And it was a point of like 90% of my life was just this. I was the stone. Like, I was afraid. I never went to college. I'm not working anymore. Like, I threw a couple events where we lost a lot of money, and some of my friends were like, it's one thing owing money to a bank, but owing money to someone you're close to,
yeah,
will truly destroy your self-esteem, your self-worth.
Wow.
And that's for me personally. Like, if you think it's bad owing credit card companies, wait until you can't pay back a best friend and they start talking about you behind your back, and you're the guy who can't pay anything back, you know? So I got to the point where I was just like, I had to call upon a higher power, you know? And so I had an overdose, and I took a bunch of like GHB mixed with a shit ton of alcohol. And GHB is like a narcolepsy. It feels like you're drunk. It's also called liquid ecstasy. It could be used as date rape. It's just a little bit. It's very powerful. And so I was using a bunch that night, and then a bunch of alcohol. And it was going through death is crazy. It's just like I was fighting it, seizures, you know, and I was just like holding on, and I was just like, I can't hold on anymore. I'm going to let go. And I let go, and my soul left my body. And some people say it's your brain, but those who've been through an experience like this, it's undeniable. It's not hallucination, you know. And as someone who's done mushrooms and acid, and it's different when your soul leaves your meat body, you know. And that really changed who I am as a person. I got into my body, and you know, like going through panic attacks when you're in the shower, like coming onto your 30s, just shaking, and like, but your body, the male body, doesn't want to let you cry. Like, I'm a man, I'm not gonna fucking cry. Right. I'm just like not allowing myself to release, you know. And I called to God, and I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, like, how am I gonna pay back this debt? How am I ever gonna have a family? Am I ever gonna, you know, like, is this life? Am I in hell? You know? And at the same time, I'm living with people that are like very paranoid, you know, like, that's a whole other wild story. But it was like very, like, if you know someone who's like very tinfoil and very, you know, and I say this out of love, like, this guy is a very important part of my life. But when someone believes that, I got a friend who sued banks, and his mom and sister died at the same time, and he thought the banks assassinated his, and I lived with him going through my depression, and that fear and energy was just like, like reprogramming my brain. And so after all of this happened, I go to God, and I knew I had to fast. And so I fast for 30 days, doing a juice fast. And then I would go into the mountains and blindfold myself. I didn't read anything about this. I blindfolded myself, and I did like a dry fast for 2 days. And it was so profound going into that type of, fasting is the most powerful thing. Every religion talks about that, every spirituality. And like, I got to the point where I was like seeing like electricity, and I could walk down the stairs, and just at peace. And I do this year fast from everything, from drugs, alcohol, and I was vegan for a year. And as that ended, like I had a friend who was like, "Hey, will you manage my nightclub?" And he offered, and I was like joking, and he's like, "How much will you manage it for?" Because he knew I worked in that. And I threw out a crazy number, like joking, and he was like, "Okay," and I'm just like paying off my debts, and at the same time working in nightclubs where people are spending $30,000-$40,000 on bottle service, and just seeing people get drunk over and over and over. And I'm out of that, and I'm like, holy shit, what a fucking waste of money. Like, damn, like sometimes you have to step out of it and heal to look and go, not in a non-judgmental way, but go, okay, I understand now. And that's what God does to us. He allows us to suffer. And if we take that suffering as a teacher, it'll stretch our souls in ways where it becomes stronger and stronger. Like that Japanese, that knife, the 10,000 fold, stretch us to become sharper. And so like that was kind of what was, and to kind of wrap that up, there was a Diplo concert my friends were throwing, and, there, and I'm like, I went over a year, I'm sober, and I said, I'm going to smoke weed. And so everyone's like, Murph, because I was the guy who was, I'll be awake for 3 days. Like, you kind of saw a little bit of my crazy side, but when that was enhanced on drugs and alcohol, like, I'll round everyone up and I'll say, no one sleeps for 3 days. We're going to see who can do the most blow. Like, and I'm going to do more than everyone. I'm going to do more mushrooms and I'm the one who's going to be like naked at the parties and like, let's, like the wild, I had my robe and purple hair and, like, and people are like, what? When they see me doing charity now. But God transformed, and I needed to go through that to be a good steward of donations. Otherwise, I would have been a shithead with the money, and I would have had my house right now for sure.
Yeah.
I would have a beautiful house here.
Yeah.
Raise millions of dollars. My wife would be in a beautiful home, but instead, she's like in another country saying, until you build us a fucking house, like, I'm not traveling with you anymore. And I understand that. We're working on that.
You're the Voice is brought to you by Trezor, the original Bitcoin hardware wallet company pioneering the development of self-custody for crypto assets since 2013, empowering individuals with an open source device, enabling beginners and experts to easily and securely hold their coins. I find my Trezor super easy to use and recommend it to my friends and family. Enjoy my 5% discount on Trezor products by clicking the link in the show notes and using the code FLAT.
I want to introduce you to Abundant Minds because they take a very different approach to Bitcoin mining. Most people buy Bitcoin, but the smart ones mine it straight into self-custody. With Abundant Minds, you can do it without giving up your privacy. Abundant Minds was founded by Bo and Christine Marie Turner, a couple who lost more than $500,000 to providers making empty promises. Instead of walking away, they built a company that raises the industry standard and puts client first, and that's why I like them. With Abundant Minds, you own your machines. They never touch your Bitcoin, never skim a revenue share, and you choose your own mining pool. Their customer care is unusual. Clients speak to a real person for self-custody education, privacy consulting, and even visiting their site. They serve clients from around the world, but US investors specifically enjoy a big tax benefit and 100% bonus depreciation. This is more than just mining Bitcoin. It's about freedom, privacy, and purpose. You can book a free strategy call, see how it works, and mine some of your first Bitcoin for free with a special offer for my audience. Learn more on abundantminds.com/Efrat.
How does that bring you to starting Murphs'Life?
So my social media was always called Murphs'Life, and
I mean Murphs'Life, the
foundation.
The foundations.
So we were at a concert, and I'm smoking weed, and this is where I was getting to. So everyone's like, "Oh, Murph is back!" Like weed pens, you know, joints, blunts. They're just like, "Brrr," and I'm like, "All right." And I just got so high, like really high, you know, very clean body, fasting. And it triggered my first panic attack in like 9 months because I healed my panic attacks.
Yeah.
95% of the day, like for a year before, I was just like walking on ice. Like, I'm going to have a panic attack. I need to get drunk as shit to fall asleep. I'm going to have a panic attack. I couldn't even be in a car anymore. I would get like claustrophobic. And so I'm so high at this concert, this Diplo concert, and I'm praying in my heart. And I say, like, God, I cannot, like, even my mind, like, I cannot go back to this. Like, I need help. I need to get out of this. And this peace comes over me like, dude. And it was just like something was placed into my heart, you know? And a lot of people be like, God spoke to me. And I hear that and I'm like, the fuck does that mean? Like, did you audibly hear something, you know? I always get
Some people
confused.
do, by the way. They do. They hear a voice or voices. Yeah.
I always wonder if they hear a voice or they don't hear a voice, you know? But for me, it's like God spoke to me. But it was like put in it, not audible. It was like put in my heart, and it was a knowing. It was just like, oh, I have a foot now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna be like, I don't have a left foot. Like, I have a foot.
And what was it telling you?
And it said, you don't live here anymore. You live in South America. And it was just like, okay. And so I told my friends, like, I'm out of here. I don't live here anymore. Going to South America. And I called my mom. She worked at JetBlue at the time, and I was like, I want a buddy pass. Where's the furthest place I can go? Bogota, Colombia at the time. And so, like, I left the next day, and my mom called me too, and she was like, hey, please don't commit suicide. Like, these are the signs. Because I gave everything away.
Yeah.
Everything. Like, here's my, I didn't have a lot of shit, but I was like, take it, you know? I got a backpack. I went to California the next day from that another state to get waiting for my passport to get renewed. And then Mexico, Bogota, and, you know, I went back for the first time in like 5 years, like 3 weeks ago. Crazy, you know, went to see my parents, my sister, just showed up and surprised them, and going through my healing. And then I was like, I'm going to go visit my grandma. First time in 22 years. I'm from Canada. Never been back, you know, surprised my grandma. But that is when I started, when I got to Bogota. And now I'm just like, how do I learn Spanish? So I had a little camera, and I started like just documenting people in the streets, like drug addicts, Venezuelans, some Colombians, mostly Venezuelans were everywhere at the time in the streets. And I would just interview them. And then I started like spending 24 hours with them, and I loved it. And there was a guy named Juan Carlos, and he stopped me in the streets of Bogota, and I was going to go edit a video at a Starbucks. And he's like, hey, man, like, I want to work for you. And in my brain, I'm like, oh, you're a drug addict. Like, anyone homeless, and normally in Canada, the United States, is a drug addict or has a mental issue, you know? And this guy's like a normal kid. And we ended up doing a little project for him. My buddy was traveling with me at the time. And we got him like a belt with this plastic case and filled it full of cigarettes and chips and drinks. And we let him live with us for like a week. And he saved up and he got into a little apartment. And I was like, it was like a drug. It was my new drug, you know? That's kind of how it started.
And then coming to El Salvador?
So right during COVID, like right as soon as that happened, I went from Colombia. Like, how I got to El Salvador was a trip, you know? Like, I was like sleeping with Venezuelans in a park, and like just like getting over hippie, you know, with this shit. But I was like sober, and so then I'm like find this new dude. Then I find like the shaman guy who was like, I heal people from cancer, and I was like, really? Like, I'm gonna follow you. And he's going into where the gorillas are in Colombia, and he gets off the bus in the middle of nowhere, and he's like, are you sure you want to come with me? And I was like, yeah, dude, I don't care. Like, I'll go with you into the gorilla jungle. You're gonna go heal some cartel gorilla guy from cancer. And I get off the bus, and that thing comes into my heart. And it was like, this is not your stop. And I was like, oh, sorry, dude. Like, wait, bus.
Wow.
It was like a little chicken bus. And I get back on the bus.
Wow.
And then we crossed the border into Ecuador. And the next day was like COVID shut down. Everything shuts down. And that's how I met my now wife, just in Ecuador. And that's where my page really started to grow. It was rapid. It was like we grew like 3-4 million subscribers within our first year.
Oof.
And, you know, within like the first few months, it was like $100,000 was stuck in a Venmo account. And I couldn't pull it out. And they're like, are you selling drugs? Like, why is there so much money going into your Venmo, you know? But we went to Paraguay, then we went to Honduras for a few months. And then like, this was like kind of when things were opening up with COVID, but I didn't want to get a shot, my COVID shot. And we were in Mexico, we went to Mexico City, and then we had to leave Mexico. And it's like, we wanted to go to Brazil, and they're like, you can't go to Brazil, but you have to leave our country. We'll go to Peru, we'll go to Chile. And then I was like, fuck, where are we going to go? And I do a live, and I'm like, guys, like, I don't know where we can go. We're stuck in Mexico unless we're forcing us to get a shot. We couldn't even return to Ecuador. They wouldn't even let Ecuadorians in unless they got a shot. And so a lot of people are like, El Salvador, El Salvador, El Salvador, go meet Bukele. And then, so I was on Instagram, and I'm like, all right, guys, like, everyone go message Bukele. Tell him to, like, we want to hang out in El Salvador. I'm not even thinking anything of it, you know? But like hundreds, if not thousands of people were like tagging Bukele, like, invite Murphs'Life. So I'm at the hotel in Mexico, like in the airport, and I'm just chatting with one of my buddies, and I see this like DM pop up on my phone as a Nayib Bukele. And it was like, hey, dude, want to come to El Salvador? And I was like,
wow.
Chatted with him for a little bit, and like, tell my wife, like, hey, we're getting on the plane. We're going to El Salvador. Like, literally, we head over to El Salvador, and they had a little guy there, like Aaron Murphy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was like the presidential car. We're like whipping around. I'm like playing with the lights, like, meow, meow, meow. And then we go and meet Nayib in the Casa Presidencial. And just chat with him. We had a cool conversation about Bitcoin City, you know? And I was like, with my buddy, I'm like, hey, we got the first $1 million. We want to help build the school at Bitcoin City. Mm-hmm. And he was like, all right, let's do this, you know? And I had money put aside, like a few million,
right,
that we wanted to do bigger projects. And obviously we wanted to fundraise for more. And I would always hit him up. I'm like, and ask people like, hey, when's that going to happen? I was stoked about it, you know, like, I want to live in Bitcoin City.
Sure.
But it never happened for whatever reason. I'm assuming it's very complicated just to start a new city in a poor country. But that idea for me never went away. And so 2021, with this money, I'll constantly praying, God told me to start buying farms. And so we have a farm here. We have one by the border of Colombia, another one in the Amazon rainforest. We were donated a farm in El Salvador by one of our followers that we'll do down the road, something cool. We didn't really do with anything. The first year was just cleaning up trash. It was a dump.
Yeah.
And the prisoners, they let us use the prisoners to put up that big fence around it.
Right.
But I didn't think anything of it because it was just like a trash hole in a very touristic, beautiful area. But no one knew it would be touristic because it was like in the house that was there was just full of MS-13 members. And so we're just like, you know, and my wife was like, why did you spend $100,000 on that property? You know, and I wanted to buy more farms that were like $50,000 for sale around me, $40,000, who now wouldn't sell it to me, that $40,000 farm, for $500,000.
Really?
To get an idea.
Oh,
so I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass, but
wow,
God has blessed us with that beautiful 20-something manzana farm, and now it is what it is because of a beautiful transformation. It's right off the highway. And yeah.
So tell us a bit about that. What is the mission that Murphs'Life Foundation, but the compound in El Salvador, is trying to achieve?
So the idea with this is there's a million kind of directions. We're doing a lot of things with this, you know, from like we want to do we want to be the model for regenerative farming. I want my daughter to have healthy food, and I don't think we should be deforesting. We need to take care of the earth.
Yeah.
And kind of going into the whole carbon shit, you know, like people are so against cows and cars, but they don't realize like the plants and the flowers and the earth is what takes in the carbon.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Yeah. So anyway, we want to be a model within we have like a 40-acre botanical garden. But the main purpose of this is we've taken a lot of families that lived plastic roofs. You know, I'll use the family that took me in during COVID for a few months. We went back and built them like a $250,000 project in their street, like a mini apartment complex, 2 homes on the bottom for the great grandmas, and a beautiful Airbnb up top, and I bought a brand new semi truck for the son. So we've taken a poor family that can make thousands of dollars a month. But how can we do that now for a village? And I love Bitcoin because and I'm not a super expert at it. I'm not a technical person. I don't care to be. It's just like, I don't understand how the internet works. If I send you a text, I don't know the tech behind it. I don't care, but it's here. Yeah. And I know that inflation destroys countries. Like, look at Venezuela right now. Look how much inflation we've had with the US dollar. So I want to be prepared for that, for my family, for my foundation, when it continues to inflate, so we still could continue to do good work. So we're here in El Salvador, and there's a lot of talk about Bitcoin adoption, right? It's the name of a lot of the conferences, and Plan B, and the problem in El Salvador, for example, is it's like, this is Bitcoin country, and most of the people would just show beautiful beaches and these multi-million-dollar homes and gated communities, but like the 95% of the country is very poor,
right?
And they live in shacks, dirt floors, and I think that's beautiful. Like, the people in there, like the experience of taking someone and like, hey, come meet this family, and we meet them. We see this mom who's a single mom. Her husband might be in CCOT, and she's like freaking fighting for her 4 kids, and I, but it tricks kind of a lot of people. Will come here and they've told me, like, this is not what I saw on the internet. Mm-hmm. Like, Bitcoin Beach is not what I thought it would be, and so our farm is like that. It's like, this is the reality, and this is the problem, and rather than just crying and bitching about it, let's have fun with this.
Yeah. Because
going back a little bit spiritual is, I don't think we can enter the kingdom of heaven until we become as children again, and children, like, think about your kid. Like, mine is a toddler right now, is so innocent. She loves everyone. She doesn't talk behind your back, like that pure innocence, that playfulness. And we need to become as that. We need to get rid of our pride. We need to get rid of our ego. And it's a constant battle throughout our whole lives.
I don't know if get rid of it, but be aware of it and not let it manage us. We can't get rid of it, I think.
Exactly. So. But the parts of humility,
yes,
of love, compassion, those things as a child. I don't mean like we're going to shit ourselves or a diaper again. So with our farm is, for Bitcoin adoption, it can't be like, I'm going to try to convince everyone. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to be the influencer that's going to show the nicest malls and the nicest restaurants and the nicest beaches. I want to do something that is impactful, right? Like, if I say that, a good way to understand, because I'm working with farms, is I want to have a fruit tree and eat the apples, and I want to have the avocados, and I want to have it now. And I plant that, and it takes years for that to grow and produce and create roots. And that's the idea of our community. We have 55 families and growing, that are poor in shacks, single moms, Down syndrome kids. If we can build them all houses, and this is where we're fundraising for another $5 million. But imagine, and we've built quite a few already.
You're raising what? You say too fast.
Another $5 million.
Oh, for that specifically?
Specifically for the community. Because we want to build an old folks home,
yep,
but homes for all the families. And we've already started. We have 4 units already that we're going to be giving away, that you can come check out if you're still here. But it's 4 homes. Eventually they will all have them, but they have rental units on top in a very touristic area on the other side of our farm against the highway. And now imagine in 15 years, when people rent that out, a big chunk of that is going to go into a Bitcoin account, and this is a Bitcoin retirement that we're
when they get the rent.
Yep,
it goes into a fund.
Yep, we're going to put it in there. So like, you're in the community. So we're working with Jamie right now with Bitcoin Hardware Store. We're building a really cool. I don't know shit about like the tech side, but it's like, okay, you are A01, A02 per family, and it's like you just hit one button, and it's like, okay, we brought in $50,000. So, and a percentage of that will specifically go into yours, and you can't touch that, and in this time, now we can educate we can reprogram the minds of, you're no longer in survival mode. It's like, what are your dreams? What do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to invest in?
Yeah.
Do you want to have your own farm?
Yeah.
Do you want to, and so this is the concept that Imagine now taking these poorest families, a village, putting a little bit of Bitcoin into an account for their children for 15 years and no more now, look at this shit. No, the fucking truth is there's a lot of poverty here, and there's a lot of poverty happening in the United States, and it's only growing. And this is why it's important to become financially aware, sovereign, and not just sovereign financially. Like, I'm all about, like, you should be sovereign with a farm, with your water, with a whole other,
your money.
With your money. So it's a beautiful 15-year project that we're doing right now. And I've sacrificed my Bitcoin. I've spent my Bitcoin. And this is what I talked about with Mike Peterson on our panel that we just did, is one of my best friends just died. Like, my best friends. He died about 7-8 months ago. And he had a lot of Bitcoin. And he was always like, we chatted all the time while I'm doing this. And he's like, Murph, you've spent like $2 million, $3 million, at the time, like in El Salvador on this project. But he's like, but if you would have, like, since 2021, but he's like, but if you would have just held that until it hit $100,000, you would have had another $15-20 million to play with, And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, he's dead. He died. And how he died was, I don't know how he died. It was kind of a mysterious death, This is weird shit, but we love him to death. But he never did anything with that money. He told me to hold. And isn't that what we do? Is just like hold. And God has given me breath today. God allowed my soul to come back into this body to fucking do something cool with my life. And in the work I'm doing right now is the most profound, impactful sacrifice, where it's like, imagine if in 4 or 5 years where, I love what the government's doing with the Bitcoin, how they show like the graphs, right, of the country growing. I want to do that with a community. How cool would that be? Of people living in shacks, of single moms with their fucking husbands in prison here, and their kids now is like, look how expensive it is to live here. It's gentrified to the max. And that's not a bad thing exactly. Like, economies grow, things get expensive. But what if we create a program for the locals and an economy for the locals that as they receive that Bitcoin, as prices continue to go up, now their children have money to buy their own land, to build their houses. And if we don't do something like this, and this country really does continue to grow, the lower class will be slaves. And so I think like, a lot of Bitcoiners are in it for wealth and fame, but a true way of living is not just about money. It's about humanity. It's about love. It's about humility. And it's becoming as a child again and looking a kid. My daughter will come up to any kid and just give him a hug and a kiss. And my wife's like, hey, no, don't do that. But just pure. And we need to constantly be reminded to become as kids again. And that's kind of what this project is. And it's a very expensive, draining my soul project. Building in El Salvador is difficult. A lot of people don't have trade schools for welding and doing things as pretty. So you build in El Salvador, you will learn patience or you will self-destruct, but it's beautiful.
Dude, I don't get emotional easily. And you deeply touch my soul. Like, the stuff you're doing, I don't know if you are realizing what you're doing, but you are engineering people's consciousness from scratch. You're teaching them how to develop low time preference, what we call low time preference in Bitcoin, which is think about the future, think long term. Don't think high time preference, which is just now. What am I eating? How am I paying for something? How am I surviving? This is high time preference, and most people around the world behave and conduct their lives like that. And by sacrificing so much in your own life, not just the Bitcoin, but everything you talked about, your family, your time, everything you're doing, you're basically taking that energy from those areas of your life and you're putting that energy into creating low time preference for others, for people who really need that. And I think like the way you put yourself aside, and that it's not about you anymore, it's about the bigger mission, the bigger dream that you have, the bigger vision, or I don't know what it is, the voice that you have in your heart that God gave you. This is very, very, very special. Very special. And that's why I wanted to have this chat with you, because I want people to see this, and I want people to understand that, you know, it's very egocentric sometimes to live our lives from the very narrow lens of how do I make my life better? How do I improve my living situation, my quality of life, my whatever, the place I live, how much money I earn, what kind of restaurants I go to or whatever. We forget that there are bigger things in life than that. And I'm not asking everyone to become a philanthropist or start their own foundation or whatever. I know this is a big ask and not everyone can do it. Not everyone's built the same way. But even if it's on a small scale, think about your child the way you would think about yourself. Think about your parents. Think about your community, your neighborhood, whatever it is. Like, just put your consciousness sometimes outside of your own egocentric life, and you discover how much time and energy we spend on ourselves, in our heads, with our bullshit dialogues and our fears and all that stuff that manages us. And I think it's just such a waste of time, because as you said, life is so short, and we need to live it to the max. We need to really hone in and tap into our full potential, because we're not here just to live life as another hamster on a hamster wheel. We're here to really do something meaningful. Most of us. Some of us. Yes, I do believe some people are here just to play the game, whatever, be NPCs, you know, just like backdrop people. They have no role to fulfill here. Maybe they don't even have a soul, especially the kind of evil that we see in the world today.
Yeah.
But some of us, especially I think people who listen to this podcast, there is a spark inside that puts you here in a certain time frame, in a certain place in the world, with a certain mission that you may need to discover. And I think that just by listening to you, listening to your stories and what you do, this is, I hope, just as it is for me, inspirational for other people to try and seek that thing within themselves.
Yeah.
And ask those tough questions. And I mean, I don't see them as tough. I see them as beautiful questions. Like, why else are we here? If not to discover our full potential and act on it. Life is boring otherwise, right?
Of course.
So I'm sure your life is hard now because of how much you dedicate to your mission. But at the same time, would you have it any other way?
Tired of feeling like your freedom and future are fading away? Do you live in a country with growing inflation, crazy housing prices, weird culture, and a chaotic economy? You're not alone, and my friend Mikkel Thorpe and his team at Expat Money can help. Mikkel is the world's leading expat consultant on a mission to free you from broken systems. He's been an expat for 25 years, lived in 9 different countries, and has helped hundreds of people with second residencies and passports, offshore banking, international investing, and many other essential tools. If you're serious about protecting your wealth and your family, it's not enough to hope things will get better. You need a plan B in another country. The team at Expat Money can help you build it legally, safely, and without wasting years of research. Visit expatmoney.com/eflat and leave your details for a follow-up. In a world hypnotized and sleepwalking towards totalitarian control and digital enforcement, awakened voices rise to inspire change and radiate hope. In December 2024, I had the honor of hosting Professor Matthias Desmet at a conference I produced called New Totalitarian Order. This masterclass is now recorded and available to watch. The conference explores the psychology behind global mass processes, offering a behind-the-scenes look at science, economics, and human potential. It addresses challenging global agendas, mass formation, transhumanism, consciousness, societal change, and the path to transformation. Click the link in the show notes to access 3.5 hours of exclusive presentations, in-depth content, and my fireside chat with Professor Desmet. Use my code EFRAT for 10% off. I hope you find great value in it.
I mean, life is always hard, you
Right.
know? Like, my life was very difficult when I was sleeping on my friend's couch who was shooting heroin up in the bathroom, and I was sleeping on a pile of his clothes that were stained with blood. You know, while I was in my dark before I came out here, you got to pick your hard. And there's times where I'm just like,
You got to pick your heart. That's a good one.
how am I going, even like, you know, like now it's like, I'm like, I need to raise $500,000 more to fucking finish the shit. And I mean, the basis to be able to open up the restaurant and hotel, and you know what I mean? To like, unless I want to have plastic furniture, which I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know, fuck. But
Look at us sitting on this royal shit.
It's difficult, and it's very difficult, but that is life.
Yeah.
And for me as a Christian, I'll say that I don't go to church, but I'm a Christian. I believe that Christ is king, you know, and I say that to anyone, my atheist friends, my Jewish friends, and that's me. That's my mission, you know, and my heart allows me to go to a higher power and say, God, like, forgive me for not trusting in you. Forgive me, because God will always provide. And I'm not talking about that in a religious sense, but it's like God gives everyone breath. Every religion, every walk of life, every animal breath, gives us water, gives us the sun. And God gives us this opportunity to allow our souls to be stretched. But it is up to us to say, will I become a victim? Or will I take that pain and say, thank you, God, fold me again, like the sword. Fold me again, fold me again. And the more we allow God to fold us and stretch us, I think that is where it's like, we are creators. It's not like we're walking in, this is God's path for me. Like, we have the opportunity to say, so many people are like, well, God didn't speak to me, and I don't know, what's my life purpose? Like, fuck. Just go do something beautiful with your life, and God will walk with you. You are an individual creator with the power of God. With the faith, you can move mountains.
Yeah.
And I never really knew what that meant. With faith, you can move mountains. I'm sure you've heard that before, right? It's a very common term, biblical term. And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, how does a man who was in debt 6 figures, never went to school, alcoholic, using drugs, like, sleeping on a couch, within a few years later have built hundreds, if not thousands, of homes? And I think of all the bricks and this resort that we're building for a pork village, the amount of soil that had to been dug, the amount of mining, the amount of mountains we had to move to build 50 houses in a new unit for the locals. Like, we've literally moved a fucking mountain. And if I didn't have the faith to say, while I was crying in the shower, hyperventilating, if I didn't have the faith to say, I can't do this anymore, now I'm going to trust in a higher power. And that's why I say we need to stop trusting in ourselves, because that is where true dictators come from. That is where true evil men come from, is when they say, nope, I am God, you know? And I don't agree with that, where a lot of people will, you know, a lot of my friends, I think it's a dangerous route, where if I start saying to me, like, I can do anything, like, yeah, you are capable of doing anything, from molesting children and justifying it. You know, like, that's just one weird thing we can go down. When we're at rock bottom, for me, it was like, I just stopped trusting in myself, because I trusted in myself so much that I never robbed my friends. I believed that I could make that money back in our festivals, and I couldn't, and I failed, because we're human. But I trusted in God, and within 1 year, my debts were paid, and there was $1 million of donations in my bank account. And I have a beautiful wife and a beautiful 3-year-old. You know what I mean? And I have health, and like, there was like a fucking tumor growing in my brain, I'm pretty sure. I would fall to the ground, and I started going blind in both eyes.
Really?
As this was happening, before I called to God.
Really?
I still, like, both eyes, like half of this is gone. You know, there's blind parts all over here. But it stopped, and and it was me calling to God and going into deep meditation and saying, I will serve you. What do you want me to do for you, God? I will be a slave, not for myself, but for God. And when we step out of our own selfish life, when we step into God's, it's not going to be an easy path, but it'll be a very beautiful, you know. I think everyone needs to to just trust in a higher power and not try to change how other people do it. You know, whether someone's like a Muslim or
no, each one
or
each
a Jew, you know.
each to their own. Yeah, individual potential. Murph, why do you think people resonate with you so much? Why do you think they want to follow you? Why do you think you become viral? Why is this happening?
Well, I don't think a lot of people don't resonate with me, you know, like.
Okay, but there are many that do.
But in my content, like if you look at my Instagram, Murph'sLife, like 90% of my content, you don't see my face.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
People resonate with. So, for example, when I called to God, and this will explain that. When I called to God and I said, "I'll serve you," like, and I called to God in the name of Jesus Christ. That's what I did. So that's the path that I personally am going to follow, right? So I find people, and let's say you're one of the families that I'm filming. Your husband was just murdered. You know, you have 2 daughters. You're like, how am I going to feed my kids? Your house just burned down, you know, and I'm filming you. I love to ask, like, do you believe in God? Because all of them do, in every religion. And if I was in a non-Christian country, they would give me a different answer towards their ideologies, no? But here in El Salvador is very Christian. And I'll say, do you believe in God? And then I really, like, it's honest, my camera. I'll be like, how do you believe in God? Like, your husband got murdered. You're poor as shit. You know, like you go to bed and you can't even feed your kids. You know, do you really believe in God? And it makes them think. They always like, or if it's a man, and I do that to a man, because everyone gives such generic responses. I believe in God, and they'll quote something a pastor told them.
Yeah.
But if you really like call them out on that and be like, do you really believe in God? Like, so for a man, I'll say, I go to bed at night and I know I can feed my daughter, you know, but you go to bed at night, and as a man who can't even feed your own kids, does that not make you feel inadequate? Or like, you know, and it's real, it's raw. I'm not trying to be a bully.
Yep.
And this makes every grown man cry that I do this, who's just like macho man from the poor areas, and they cry and cry and cry. And I go, how can you really say you believe in God? And when you look at those videos, it's like a lot of them with their tears in their eyes as I edit that. And they go, I believe, and it's powerful. And it makes people resonate because the people watching, I use a VPN, I use numbers from wealthy countries when I upload my videos. Like, I don't care that Salvadorans know who I am, because it's more people just bugging me in the streets asking me for money, you know? But when people watch that, it's like, whether you're in the United States or Australia or Israel, like, we have beautiful houses and homes and cars, and we're depressed and we're popping pills and we're alcoholics, and we have these secrets that we're hiding from our spouses and our family, and they watch that and they go, wow, okay, this mom's husband was murdered, 2 kids, doesn't have a roof over her head, and I'm a pretend Muslim, I'm a pretend Jew, I'm a pretend Mormon, I'm a pretend, I say it, I go to church, I wear this, but I'm depressed, and maybe I'm looking at a bunch of porn or whatever the fuck it is. And this woman right here with a dirt floor in El Salvador with 2 kids just bore their testimony. And that to me is what it means to bear your testimony, to bear your truth, to bear your faith in the unseen and the unknown. And that's what people resonate with. And they go, I want to be like them, you know? And that's what I kind of come back to. In El Salvador, we show so much about the poverty, and we show so much about the beautiful beaches and the beautiful malls, but they're missing out on the core, which is like 80% of the country. How many don't have a bank account? If you look at them and you meet them and you say, you no longer look at them as like, you know, you want to buy this? You want to buy this apple? You want to buy this? Like, no, I don't want to buy that. Like, did you wash your hands? Don't touch me. For a lot of people are like that. You know, like, oh, you want money from me because I'm a gringo. Oh, you're a female here. You want to have sex with me so you can get a visa to come to America. It's not like that in a lot of poor countries. You get to know them, and you say, you have a power to you. And that power is believing in the unknown, the unseen, is believing in God to them. And that is very powerful. That, for me, is very powerful, whether it's within indigenous tribes. And when you lose that spirituality, that faith, it's like, why have hope in anything, you know? And that's what people resonate with.
Yeah.
It's me being able to put on because I don't like going on and being like, Christ is king. And you know, those people who go like in the streets, I would see that and I'm always just like, that's not me. I'm sorry, God, that you brought me back. I called in the name of Jesus Christ, and And I can't do that. Like, and I always tell my Christian friends, like, no, even though that happened, like, I look at my faith compared to a lot of other ones, like mine is a mustard seed still. And I hold on to that and I never let it go. I was talking to John, remember? And we were joking around. I'm like, John, just believe in Jesus Christ, man. Come on. And it's almost kind of like a joke, but mine is like, no matter what people say, the Bible was changed, I always got my little hand on the seed. And when I pray to God, I go, you know, I can go on my social media maybe and be like, you know, this is what I believe, Jesus Christ. But I think if I find that woman and that man, and, you know, and I don't make it all about religion in certain churches, and they go, I believe, like, because of my faith in God, it's beautiful, and it's for everyone who's listening to that, you know, and they don't have to say like, oh, by the way, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, join the Jehovah's Witness church. Oh, by the way, I'm a Catholic. Oh, by the way, like, you know, it's
raw, it's real. It pokes straight to the hearts of people.
Yeah, and suffering brings God out in us.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes we have to go to a world war for us to end the division. Sometimes we have to be so crushed and blow our houses up before we can live together again, right? And
yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I hope people will wisen up and see it before really bad shit happens to them.
Yeah.
That's why I speak out anyway.
Everyone's got to go on a personal journey.
Right. So Murph, what do you need from people who may want to support you now?
Right now, just donations. I want to build everyone a house. I want to build an old folks home. I want to finish this, and I want to be able to run it, because this is a 10, 15 year...
What do you mean, people to run it? Like
well,
your
I want
people...
to make sure this is managed. Like
your people, your employees, yeah.
Even me, like...
Okay.
If I build a resort and I give it to someone living in a shack who only knows how to give coffee, it's going to go to shit, you know? I'm not taking a salary from this. This is because this is a mission. This is a life purpose. And God has prepared me for this, and I love it, you know? And this is where you know, everyone has to pick something to die on. And for me, it's like...
But you need to live off something. You don't take anything from the...
I take a salary.
Foundation? Okay.
You know? I mean, we have sponsors we have 11 million subscribers, so... You know, from like Coca-Cola to brands have given us $20,000, $30,000, but I pay myself $6,000 every month. That's my salary. And in Latin America, I live well off of that. But it's like my true joy. You can pay me $100,000 a month. It's not going to affect my peace, but my where I get my joy is seeing houses being built and these families. Like, that is wealth. And someone who's very wealthy, and them, you know, if they want to donate and do something cool, like, I'm always like, yeah, donate to us. I'll show you exactly where that money goes and I'll build it. But if someone wants to do it themselves, like, come on down and meet one of these families and we can build a house. It's $55,000 to build a home and a bungalow on top. And to see that woman, like we have a lot of single moms, to move into there, and now to watch that money come into their account. You can track that as we're building once this is open, like, to be able to track that money coming in there, like, it's real change. And in 10, 15 years, I hope, my dream is for Bitcoin adoption is for not to show beautiful beaches and beautiful resorts and this Dubai marketing style of beauty, but it's to say, wow, if Bitcoin can take a village out of poverty, then I think there's a beautiful source of money that cannot be inflated, that can take humanity into a much more beautiful place, that takes care of kids, and where people work towards, you know, and not just given. That's my dream.
And how should people do that if they want to support you?
Murph'sLifeFoundation.com.
And Instagram, YouTube... What are the best channels? TikTok?
My favorite is Instagram and X, but TikTok as well. Everything is Murph'sLife.
Yeah.
And then we're doing all Spanish now, Casa Conejo, on like YouTube, and it's more of a way too for me to really get my Spanish down. I only speak
have great Spanish.
Casa Conejo.
Yeah.
And that'll be a way to promote a restaurant. It'll be public.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think anyone listening, you know, everyone needs to find God a little bit more, move a little bit closer to God. So find God in your own way. And one of the best ways is through fasting. You go to a quiet place. Like, if you're in a problem in your life, whether it's health or you want to come closer to God or find meaning, turn off your phone, be away from your family, be in a very quiet place and just fast, like no food, even no water, and just meditate. And don't be afraid to pray to God in whatever way. And for me, it's like, God, in the name of Jesus Christ, I pray that you show me what I need to do with my life, that you show me how to spend these donations, or that you take this anxiety inside of me and don't take it away, but you transform it. That you take this fear inside of me and transform that into courage. Don't take it away, transform it.
Yes.
And you'll see miracles take place in your life.
Amen.
Yeah.
Murph, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I mean, for me, it's I can talk to you for hours. A pleasure to sit with you and just be inspired by you and what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll do it again soon. Welcome to the Murph'sLife farm. This right here is going to be a little grocery store. So we're building a community here, and there's probably 1,000 families from Canada, US, all over that are buying like land up here to build cabins in the surrounding mountains. So we want to have something nice for the community. We can sell like organic wines, grass-fed cuts of beef, and just rice, beans. And then this is kind of like the community center, but it's a big restaurant and coffee shop. Underneath is going to be the spa, the sauna. This is going to be a gym underneath. So we're just thinking of as many ways to build a micro economy for this small community. Everyone will be paid in Bitcoin. We're going to offer them a Bitcoin retirement with all the commissions that we make here. You stay with us for 10 years, and then you can have that in 5, 10, 15 years, that Bitcoin. And we want to be able to show people, look at these people before and after, living in these shacks, dirt floors, to now having actual brick houses. We're teaching them right now, we're actually teaching families how to build houses on top of their houses to rent it out to surfers. What we really hyper focus on is taking the poorest of the poor. We educate them. We're building a big school across the highway over there, putting $500,000 into that, and educating their kids, giving work to the families, and teaching them how to become entrepreneurs, how to become middle class. A lot of the kids, we probably have about 50 kids here who aren't going to school because they can't afford to go to school. Hola. Hola bien. This is one of the kids who, he's not legally adopted. He actually lives here potentially illegally.
Right.
And he has no paperwork either. We want to put him in school, but we're trying to figure out his paperwork.
Hello.
Hey.
Hola.
With so many parents being arrested, his mom and dad are both in CCOT, in prison.
Really?
So it's another issue that not a lot of people talk about, but there's a lot of kids like him who are sleeping in shacks and sheds like this who don't have a mom or dad. The average person on these mountains here will make $75 bi-weekly. That's their paycheck.
Wow.
And it's, working for Starbucks coffee, It's kind of modern day slavery that still goes on. Yeah. This is the truth, people show El Salvador of beautiful beaches and the beautiful things that are being built, which is true, but this is also the reality. This is the people who make the food that we eat, the people that make that coffee, the people that make sure we have water, plumbing, this is how they live. In every country you have this, and this is the beautiful opportunity now we have of growing and fixing and figuring out how to have a little bit more of a balance. This is 3 years of working with, everything is done by the shovel. And then to do our parking lot, we had to bring a tractor in to flatten that out. But other than that, this is 3 years of shovel work and spending, $100,000+ on labor for the community, which is the best form of charity, Yeah. Everything is a learning experience. I never went to school to become, a president of a foundation. I didn't even go to college, I was a party kid. I just had a plate of cocaine and ecstasy and living in California and just nightclubs and now, I'm sober and this is where God put me. So I'm learning through a lot of mistakes, but it's really becoming way more, a beautifully run foundation, I guess you could say. I'm just obsessed with my work. I'm here 24/7. I don't go to parties. I don't go to meetups. I don't hang out with, politicians. I live with people in shacks. And when I have free time, I'm with my daughter. She's 2. And now with this, it's like, I'm going to just shut the fuck up and build this. And I've been doing this for the last 3 years. And I'm going to build a concept that truly does change people with Bitcoin. The whole purpose of this is how many fucking families can we take and build them beautiful homes and educate their kids and see the poorest of the poor who are stuck in a cycle. We need to create systems where now we need to create an engine. you know, an engine of being able to feed children and elders, the helpless, an engine to be able to help out shelters, an engine to be able to educate kids. And that's what I'm just trying to build, and I'm excited about it. So I look at all these problems and it's like, okay, someone should jump on that. Someone can jump on that. Like, that's the whole purpose of life. We come to this earth and we can find problems, and either we can bitch about it or like, oh, I'm gonna try to tackle that, you know, and you might totally fail, but what a beautiful purpose.
Thanks for being with us. Please take a minute to give this episode a like, a comment, and subscribe or follow. And please share it with your friends so they can also get value and choose to take some positive action in their lives. Till next time.